I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields. Chair recognizes the ranking member, Ms. Jayapal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned, temporary protected status is a bipartisan program, and it allows individuals from countries facing war, unrest, and natural disaster to remain in the United States until it's safe for them to return to their home countries. And these are individuals, as Mr. Williams testified to, with work authorization, who have put down roots in their communities, followed the legal processes that are available to them. These are not the worst of the worst that Trump claimed he'd go after, and yet this administration is well on its way to stripping the lawful status of over 1 million people by early next year. Mr. Williams, very powerful testimony, thank you. TPS recipients work in a variety of sectors experiencing workforce shortages, including childcare and construction. And as the president of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, can you discuss the impact that the TPS terminations are having on the work sites where your union members work and on the broader economy?
For sure, and I would also add hospitality too as a
as well.
Very important industry that could see unprecedented worker shortages. But you know, in speaking to our members on a regular, and listen, our members are just like the rest of this country, very divided around immigration. Let's not kid ourselves. But our members never looked at those brothers and sisters that they worked side by side with in some very dangerous working conditions as people that were considered here unlawfully. And the safety issues that can take place when you remove that many workers that have been trained and highly skilled to work on things like painting bridges, hanging off the side of buildings. You rely on one another. In our industry, you already are seeing the fear over who are you going to work with side by side that you can trust. The person you worked with for the last 15 years or somebody brand new in the industry. And there is definite fear both amongst our employers and our members about what's going to happen to our workers going forward.
And I appreciated your challenging the notion that these are low-skilled workers because you have invested a lot of money into training people and they bring extremely valuable skills to the job. I also want to talk about the effect that the Trump administration's indiscriminate immigration enforcement is having on your union members. Do people feel safe coming into work?
No. I mean, we have had horror story after horror story of members of ours that have been granted status in this country that have been targeted on the job site for removal, followed to their homes, and on the way to work being pulled over by local law enforcement and being detained only not to be heard from again. You know, what is going on in our country right now should alarm all of us and should really bring back to the middle a conversation on how we can deal with immigration as a whole and coupled with fixing our broken labor laws to give workers more power at the bargaining table.
And you have lots of members who are also of varied immigration statuses, including U.S. citizens, green card holders, others. What do you hear from them about their feelings about coming to work, even though they're maybe U.S. citizens or green card holders?
Genuine fear in certain instances, and I can tell you this, in Southern California and Los Angeles, ever since the National Guard has been called up, our members are in fear of even gathering in large groups. We've had to cancel our union meetings, which have been a tradition of ours for over 130 years, for fear of being targeted just by the way they look.
As you know, being on TPS carries a lot of uncertainty. You only get your status for 12 to 18-month renewal periods, and in your testimony, you mentioned the importance of providing a path to citizenship for TPS holders. Can you explain why you, as the general president of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades and the AFL-CIO writ large, think that this is so important for us to do?
Because it would remove this question of temporary that seems to be constantly thrown around when these workers have contributed to this country way more than they are given credit for and have been demonized based on that temporary status. They are members of our communities. They are parents. They are long-standing members of our unions.
I want to give you a chance to respond to the gentleman across the aisle when he said, well, the problem with wealth inequality and the wealth gap is really, you know, the fact that we've got these workers here. I just wondered if you wanted to say anything to that.
It's the biggest misnomer out there. Give workers more power at the bargaining table over their own economic standing, and you'll see that income gap shorten for sure, and I realize I'm out of time.
Oh, that's good. You see, some people pay attention to that. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I do have a unanimous consent request.
Okay?
Since Mr. Solaski was announced as a witness, we've been inundated with unsolicited outreach from people, including the mayor in Charleroi,
So
Seeking
what
to
is your,
correct the record.
what is your request?
and explaining that his views are not representative of the community. And so I'm asking unanimous consent to enter into the record a statement from Kristen Hopkins, the president of the Charleroi Borough Council.
Without objection?
And I'm asking for unanimous consent to enter into the record a statement from Reverend Sharon Woomer, a pastor in Charleroi, explaining how the termination of TPS
Without
for
explanation,
Haiti has placed
or else
real
I will
strain
read my.
on the entire
So
community.
it's either, do you either want, someone's
ask-
going to object, or are you going to?
I ask unanimous consent to
And that's
enter
enough.
into the record the
Without-
statement from Travis Verchek, the executive director of McKees Rock Community Development Corporation and a volunteer at a church in
Without
Charleroi.
objection.
I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the statement from Tim Maddox, a researcher and faculty member
Without
at the
objection.
University of Pittsburgh. And I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a statement from Nancy J. Ellis, the former mayor and newly re-elected mayor of the borough of Charleroi, who said Mr. Solaski's
No,
opinions are
no,
biased and will not get a fair
No.
view.
No, I object. If you're going to read it, then I'm going to object.
You gave him an extra minute, so
gonna
I want to
object.
make sure that we are being fair about the person who is testifying, making
Yeah.
sure people understand
And
that
so you,
he's not
you put
representative.
in 4, you got to put in 4, and then you had to read the statement.
I didn't
which
read
you-
the statement.
Which you know clearly goes beyond the parameters
Mr.
of
Chairman, I
normal
didn't read the
conduct and
statement.
decorum. Yeah, you
Let
did.
me
Yeah,
do
you
it again.
did.
I ask unanimous consent to
You're
enter
out of
into
order.
the record.
The gentleman, I recognize the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Vandrew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all,